This is TWiT.
And now it is time to talk about the Meta Quest. So let me start by laying out the basics here. When we're talking about Meta, we're talking about that company that used to be called Facebook. When we're talking about the Meta Quest, we're talking about the Oculus Quest that is now called the Meta Quest. So I just want to get that out of the way for all of you listening out there.
I'm a little dizzy.
Yeah, we all are. And it's not because of VR that we're dizzy.
Right.
So, Meta has released I guess even before Meta purchased Oculus and acquired that company. The Oculus Quest has obviously been out for a long time in different iterations, but the company is just now adding some parental supervision tools. Joining us today to talk about it is Amanda Silberling from TechCrunch. Thank you for being on the show, Amanda.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so happy to have you here. And also, that is an excellent sweater you have, just as a side
Thank
note.
you.
I kind of want it. Anyway, so let's get into
We can talk
things.
about that later.
Okay, cool. I can ask, I got to figure out where you got it. So anyway, let's start by talking about what was available to kind of give parents the ability to decide what kids could view or access on the platform. Before we talk about the new tools, I'm curious, what tools have been available up to this point to either keep kids from accessing certain things or just in general, some privacy and security tools on the platform?
Yeah, so I think something that's really shocking about this story is that before this week, the Quest didn't really have parental controls. I actually came across a Lifehacker article that came out this week that was like how you can change your router settings to sort of like try to have some control over what apps your children are using. But like the average parent is not going to do that. But now Meta's rolling out ways for parents to more easily monitor what their children are doing in their VR headsets. But before that, they had some general safety features that are not really child specific, but just things like there's boundaries you set to make sure that while you're like in the heat of the moment playing VR ping pong, you don't accidentally like hit your TV with your controller or something. And I think those are really helpful just for like physical safety, but I think that Meta has a lot of responsibility when it comes to online safety and preventing harassment and giving users more security. And I think there is a lot of pressure on them to do a good job at that. And rolling out parental controls about more than 2 years after initially launching their Quest headsets is a little concerning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think concerning for all of us. Now, I found it interesting in your piece, you kind of touch on the overall popularity of the Meta Quest in particular. But I think that for some, they still see VR as it's a future technology. It's not a technology that people care about right now. So maybe they're a little bit surprised to hear that U.S. lawmakers and UK ruling groups are paying attention to this device at all, are paying attention to the parental controls that are involved with this device, and whether or not this the platform itself violates any of the rules and protections that are in place, especially for children. I am curious, based on what you wrote about, is this a popular product at this point? Can you sort of reassure the people out there who may be going, isn't this still kind of obscure, that maybe that's not the case? What did you find in learning about the sales of the Oculus Quest, or excuse me, the Meta Quest?
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with how they're rebranding literally everything. But yeah, another reporter at TechCrunch, Sarah Perez, found that based on data from mobile app researchers, it appeared that the Oculus, which is still called the Oculus app, the Oculus companion app to the Quest, was downloaded about 2 million times in the 2 weeks between Christmas and beginning of January. And in that 2-week period, 2 million downloads kind of equates to like, if you're downloading the Oculus Quest app, like app downloads aren't always the most useful metric, but I think that's a way of helping us kind of estimate the sales, because generally you're going to want to use the app if you have a Quest, because it just makes it easier to like download apps without going into your headset. But so I think it is more popular than people might think. And I think it's only going to continue growing in popularity, especially now that I think the price point on some of this hardware is becoming more accessible. Like the Quest 2 is priced pretty similarly to something like a Nintendo Switch. And I think people want to see what all the fuss is about. Like, is this technology really that good that Facebook is going to change their name over it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to wonder what the fuss is about if they go that far with it. So let's talk about one of the sort of systems that they've announced or features that they've announced called Family Center. What tools or resources does Family Center provide for parents or guardians?
So Family Center is still something that is rolling out across various Meta platforms. But right now it's going to be available on Instagram. And if parents go on the Instagram app and go into their settings, there should be something called supervision, I believe. And that will help them stay aware of like how much time their child is on Instagram, setting time limits for how long they can be on Instagram. If their teen has reported somebody, who's following them, who are they following? And I think something that's also key is that these features are double opt-in. Like the teen has to invite the parent to have this access, which, I mean, I think that is a conversation that teens and parents should be having together. But so I think that's interesting to me too as part of it. But that Family Center hasn't rolled out across other apps that Meta owns. So like Facebook, the Quest, WhatsApp, but it should be rolling out to more Facebook Meta properties soon. But of course, we don't really know what that means when they say soon. It could mean a couple months. It could mean who knows.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as you note in your piece, and you mentioned it there briefly, it kind of was a good move by Meta to put these parental controls into the mobile app versus having these controls in the headset itself, because already asking someone to strap on a headset adds a level of friction that some people just aren't going to go through with at that point. To have to put it on, to figure out how do these controls work, to sort of disorient themselves, take themselves out of their reality. And so there does seem to be some level of awareness on Meta's part to say, if we want parents to have access to these tools, or guardians to have access to these tools, and we want them to be able to use them, we probably should make them available to them without having to use this newfangled technology that their child or the person they're watching over is using. So I'm curious, do you think that Meta is learning from its experiences with Instagram in particular about kind of how it has handled things so far with the talking to legislators about how Instagram does or does not affect kids? I mean, does this look like a company that is now paying more attention to the way that it is making these tools available? Is this a response to some of the blowback it's received with Instagram in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that they're learning, and I'm personally really interested in seeing how they manage content moderation on their apps like Horizon Worlds and Horizon Venues as the Quest becomes a more popular piece of hardware. And it's hard to say if they've learned from recent news and their recent constant stream of Senate hearings. But something that even sticks out to me from then is when the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, testified before the Senate, and a safety feature that Instagram had added was something where, like, when a teenager opens an account, then their account is by default set to private. And it was actually like a senator whose office uncovered in research that if you set up a teenager's account on the web, then it doesn't default to private. And things like that just feel like really glaring oversights that a company with so many resources can't really afford to be making. Mm-hmm. And I worry that, like, are they investing in safety because they're trying to save face or because they're really thinking about the best ways to keep users safe? I don't think we can really know the answer to that question, but I just hope that as people interact in VR and explore new ways of experiencing the internet and connecting with each other, that they're genuinely thinking about safety while they're developing new products.
Yes. Speaking of new ways to connect with people and new products from Meta, I was hoping you could tell our listeners a little bit about Horizon Worlds and Horizon Venues. Just what are these apps, and are children able to use those two apps if they have a Meta Quest?
Yeah, so Horizon Worlds is a social VR app. It's like you have your avatar. They don't have legs. That's just happens. You just lose your legs. It's fine. And you go into user created worlds. Users can build, like, maybe you want to build a bowling alley or like a cafe, and you can go into these different rooms and you're interacting with real human beings who you see their avatar, but you can talk to them. Like, it's a very immersive experience compared to something like playing Club Penguin, for example. That's a throwback. But I think, like, it does make a difference when you're experiencing this, like, in an immersive, environment. But so Horizon Venues is similar, but it's more like time-based events. But then they also have things like you can go into Horizon Venues and you land in a thing that kind of looks like a movie theater, and you can go into the different doors. And so when I last used it, there was a Billie Eilish concert going on. So went to the VR Billie Eilish concert, but found it to be kind of like a pixelated rendering of Billie Eilish performing. And then you're kind of just walking around and there's people in the stands. And like, I think it's a really cool concept, but I just don't think it's really being used in a particularly interesting way yet.
Yeah.
Like, there was a Foo Fighters concert, and it apparently was really hard for people to actually, like, access the app because it was overloaded maybe. But children in theory aren't supposed to be on these apps. These are 18 and over apps, but it's very easy. Like, if a parent owns a headset and they have it connected to their Facebook account, which is somebody who's over the age of 18, and then a child goes on and they take the headset, like, so many of the reviews of these apps in the App Store are people being like, I'm getting chased around by screaming children.
I have to attest, I tried out Horizon Worlds while it was still in beta, got beta access to it, and I went into the main area and I was walking around and I watched this individual who very much sounded and behaved like a small child, literally chasing people around going, hi, 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 just over and over and over again. And I had a laugh. Too. I had a laugh because, you know, it wasn't affecting me, but there were people in there kind of, I heard one person using all these buzzwords about startups and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, they're practically having a business interaction over here. And this kid's just going, hi, hi, hi. So it's clear that, yeah, kids are still able to access this, even if there's that 18 limit on that. Is Facebook or is Meta addressing that in any way? Is there some way to fix that problem?
Yeah. So when they rolled out these announcements about changes that they're going to make in the Quest to make it safer for children, that's something I asked them about. Is you have this existing reported issue of children in Horizon Worlds and Horizon Venues. Like, what kinds of protections are there going to be to make sure that kids aren't going into apps that they're not supposed to be in? And they responded, like, mentioning one of the upcoming features where parents can, like, lock certain apps on the Quest. So, like, you have to enter a passcode to get in through a gesture. And if the kid doesn't know that gesture, they can't get in. But then you're putting a lot of onus on the parent to be like, I know what Horizon Worlds is. I know why my child shouldn't be going on it. And, like, I think it's just very easy to get around things like that on the internet. Like, it's kind of the same as like, just because a fan forum might be 13 and over, that doesn't mean that an 11-year-old can't do some workarounds to get on it. And I think it is hard to prevent these workarounds, but I don't know if these new features are really going to prevent kids from getting on Horizon World.
All right. One final question for you here. When should folks expect to see these parental controls rolling out? And is the Family Center portion already available for folks to use?
The Family Center is going to be available on Instagram currently, but it hasn't rolled out yet across other apps. And right now in the Quest in particular, Meta did say that in April is when they're going to roll out the feature where you can lock certain apps. And so like if you have a child using a headset that adults also use, it's not like the entire thing is like child-proof. Mm-hmm. Like you can still have like adults use Horizon Worlds if they want to, but then lock it so that the kid can't get in. And there's some other features like the Oculus app-based features for parental supervision. Meta said will be rolling out more like over the summer or like in May. But these are all just estimates that they're giving. They're just kind of alerting us to what they're working on and what users can expect in the future. And yeah, I think the sooner the better for these safety features.
Absolutely. Amanda, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to chat with us. Of course, folks can head to techcrunch.com to check out your work. But if they want to follow you online, where should they go to do so? Yeah,
I'm on Twitter at @asilbwrites, like A as in Amanda, Silb as in the first 4 letters of my last name, and writes, like writing, which is what I do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much.